15 seconds is longer than you think. Okay, great. Good morning. I'm calling the Trees and Green Infrastructure Committee meeting to order at about 10:02 on Friday, June 17th. This is a rescheduled meeting. Our regular meeting would have been last Friday, and it was rescheduled today to accommodate vacations. So first I want to do a roll call. We do have a quorum today, but we have a few members absent. So Andrea Hoffman?
Here.
Elise Burns?
Here.
Liza Trey?
Here.
And Bob Van Horn, Joan Flaherty, and Catherine Downs are not here. I think it's possible that Catherine might join us in progress, but we do have a quorum and we can get started. The first thing is, you may have noticed that in the last week, Linda Travers, who is here helping us today, appreciate that, Linda, and also to acknowledge that Liz Lingo, city arborist, is with us today. Anyway, Linda has sent us some minutes from years ago because the last committee meeting, when we were still the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Trees, did not do minutes, and we're required to have those as a city committee. So she is helping us greatly in catching up those previous meetings, and they were only audio recorded, so it took quite an effort to be able to get the details down on paper from those old audio recordings, and we greatly appreciate her help. There are there are two sets here. I guess I want to do them in groups because of the people that were here. There are two sets from 2018, May 11th and April 20th, and the only ones of us who were here then are myself and Andrea and Elise. So I think we're the only ones who can vote on those. So I guess I just need a motion to approve the April 20th and May 11th, 2018 minutes.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the April 20th, 2018, and May 11th, 2018 minutes. Second.
Okay, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then a third set is actually one from December, where we did not have a meeting because at the last minute we didn't have a quorum, but we had to note that anyway, and I didn't realize that at the time. So there's a simple minute there just reflecting that we couldn't have the meeting. So I'll take, and any of us can.
Motion to approve the December 10th, 2021 minutes.
A second.
Okay.
I second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Then we come forward to the April 8th, and that is our last meeting because we did not have the May meeting. And Elise, thank you, submitted a couple of typo-type changes. I don't think I'll even read them because they were just literally a couple words, but I will make sure that that's corrected, like changing Columbia Road to Columbia Avenue and changing a capital letter to a small letter, but I appreciate you sending those in. Otherwise, need a motion for the Friday, April 8th.
I move to approve the April 8th, 2022 minutes. Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. We don't have any correspondence today. And actually, my update will be relatively brief, just in two things. First of all, I guess I'll have an update next month of contributions, but it does look like our display at the sidewalk sale may have resulted in some new donations. At least some have come in recently, so I'd like to think they were the result of that publicity.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, we've had about four or five come in recently, and I just haven't gotten the updated spreadsheet. So I can report on the numbers next time. But I was pleased. I was there one of the days, and you were there, I guess, Saturday. How did that go? How did Saturday go?
It was quiet.
Was it?
It was
Okay.
quiet. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm glad we had a chance to do it. Every little bit helps, right? And the other thing is on just the timing on the tree ordinance. Because of working on the CDP and having to get that finalized, the tree ordinance was put on I won't say it's put on a back burner, but it was delayed a little bit. But the mayor has scheduled the next meeting for July 26th, so it's still more than a month off. But at that meeting, we are supposed to be going over a full redlined version, which includes all the changes that we've talked about at previous meetings. So I'm hoping that is like the next to the last step. There may still be some unresolved issues and we are going to be having a public hearing. A public hearing is not required because it's not part of the zoning code. But given the interest and sort of importance of the tree ordinance and how it affects everyone, we're going to do a public hearing anyway, and that would probably be in August. So we're trying to get the tree ordinance done. The other thing I'm going to do is that, and I haven't written it yet, but I've got a lot of ideas for it. Is do a presentation on the other codes that are affected by the tree ordinance and how the tree ordinance itself affects other codes, and also incentives and just other non-code related issues that relate to trees and green infrastructure. And there are a lot of them. And I don't think we can accomplish all that we want to accomplish for our environment just with trees alone. And so I want to make that point and bring up the possibility of in the future having a landscape ordinance, as many communities do. And just sort of sort all that out as to kind of what next steps would be, because I don't see the tree ordinance, I'll just say this up front, I don't see the tree ordinance as solving all of our problems. It just, given the building that's going on today, we're not going to be able to maintain as many, as we once had, but there are other things. There are many other factors in native plantings and in landscape and in green infrastructure that will greatly help the environment. So we sort of need to think broadly on that. And that's all I have for an update. The old business, we've got a lot of exciting things to do today. I think it's going to be the Liza show on the Commemorative Tree Program mapping and tree tour.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank everybody for their patience. Everything is in full bloom, so it's easier to identify the trees, but I hope I got it right through the different apps that I use. Liz, I have a question first. Does the city have a company that they work with on plaques? No. So how should we proceed with that? Should we contact 2 or 3 and then present the total cost? Because there was one that I received that she sent me samples, but I'm yet to receive them, and I have to call her and remind her. They're from Kansas City, and I did a little bit of browsing on the Kansas City. They do a lot of the botanical gardens up and down through the Midwest. They can do the QR codes and everything. They have different sizes. A plaque that is adhered to a tree is going to come with a different type of screw that allows the tree to grow. So she knew she knew what I was talking about, so she sounded very informative. A plaque that I suggest is about a 4x7 or 4x6. She's going to send me some samples so I can present to the group, and it's roughly $20, $25 a plaque.
So typically what I do for that is I will research, like, for example, the National Tree, I think it's Tag and Band Company is probably the most well-known. Doesn't mean they're the best or anything like that. But I'll see what some of the arboretums do and then do price comparison from there. And
Okay, so you'll take that over?
Yeah.
Okay,
and then
perfect.
we'll just go with the lowest cost one.
Right.
The QR codes are very easy to create. And what you're talking about with the thing, it's a spring, basically, they put behind.
Yes.
So, like, it'll be tree bark, like a little spring, and the nail will go through the spring and give, that, like, half-inch of room for the tree to expand.
So the next is I have all the locations, all the quadrants for all the trees. And I took photos, but it's off of my camera, and the photo is not excellent. I can go back and retake a full photo, or do we use like a stock photo of a professional what the tree is going to look like, but then people can't relate to it? Because, for example, the linden trees behind the visitor center, they're young. So I can take a picture of them, and maybe in 5 years the pictures can be updated, but at least they'll have a reference of the location because they will see the visitor center behind it. So they'll have like, this is the tree. Is that the route to go, to take a picture of the actual tree? Because I did, but the pictures are not great. So it's not that hard for me to go back and retake the pictures.
I was going to say, when I was doing some work on the Ivy project, I had a very difficult time with stock pictures. A lot of them you have to pay for, and it
Okay.
just was a very difficult. You might talk to Lynn Cohn, because what I ended up doing was calling Lynn, and they have stock pictures. They have some sort of a subscription program. So they, I think, will be able to help you. That's how I finally got what I wanted.
Okay.
I was thinking Lynn too, but more that she's got a good camera and might be able to walk with you and take better pictures if we wanted to go that route.
So do we think it's better to have a good picture of the representative of the tree or the
Correct.
actual one?
I
guess
I
that's
think the
question.
actual tree.
You think the actual tree, yeah.
I personally think so, because it's going to give people a point of reference, because even though we'll have on the map like the longitude and latitude, there is still ambiguity. People are not paying attention that they're in the exact right location. And if, there's clusters of trees, for example, if you go in front of the breakers, that traffic circle, okay, so I think it'll give them a reference point of they're standing in front of the right tree, and if there's a plaque on it, they know that they hit that tree.
Right, yeah.
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 So, okay, so I will contact Lynn if she has a good camera and walk around town with her, if I can get her cocktail. That's my personal thing.
Yes,
And then I think
definitely.
people that gave to the Commemorative Tree Program, they'll feel more connected to it. Sorry about that. Don't ask me to repeat everything I said. I tend to.
We do it
So-
okay on mic for mic? Okay.
Okay, the descriptions. I did not do the descriptions on this part of the map. How much information do we want to provide on the commemorative tree? Because in the tree tour map of Stockley, we went into a lot of detail on the trees. Do we just give the Latin name and the common name on the plaque and just say commemorative tree? Or do we also include a QR code that provides the history of it? And then my next question is, if on the commemorative tree, if it's possible to go back and note which trees were planted when and include that year. For example, if my family gave in 2018, that they can relate that this was the tree that they gave money towards in 2018, if that's possible.
Well, except that, remember, we don't have, their specific trees are not identified with specific donors.
Oh, so it's not done on a yearly basis. So if we
Well, it's
collect,
done on a yearly basis, but, and so I don't know, we could certainly talk about whether or not to include those years, but it's not, the whole, part of the reason the Commemorative Tree Program started the way it is now with
Right.
with the sculpture downstairs and the leaves and everything, was to get around the fact that the one years ago had these plaques beneath trees, and that led to a number of
Okay.
issues. So,
all right.
I see where Liza's coming from,
yeah,
that at least people could say, oh,
this was done in 18.
yeah,
19,
we gave
actually.
money in 18. Could we just say planted in 2018?
I think it will give people a little bit of more of a connection to the money that they gave to the tree and on the map. And I mean, obviously no names, but if we can go back and see that the linden trees, for example, that are right outside of Grove Park were planted in 2019, and knowing that I gave in 2019, that some of my money went to those trees. If that's
What do you think,
possible.
Liz? I mean, I think that's fine if we're not identifying individuals with it.
And if money rolled over, it's not an exact
Yeah,
science.
That's the other thing. Is
It's not, it
Yep.
won't be an exact science, because if I gave at Christmas time and the plantings took place at the fall of the next year, but at
Correct.
least it will give a donor a connection.
Right. Well, plus you could, it gives them a sense, I know this is one thing I look at, is how much they grew in a few years.
Correct, and saying, ooh,
So-
that's a pretty tree, or,
Right,
and
yeah.
if, and if they had personal reasons to give a commemorative tree, if somebody passed away or somebody had a lifelong connection to Rehoboth Beach, it gives them a little bit more of a connection. So I'll work with Liz directly on that, if that's possible, Liz.
On what, just provide?
Getting looking at the past.
We have gotten lists, I know, from you before.
I
and
think I've already provided
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, there is
That's why.
one. I actually, I should have brought that today. I have questions about some of it in that I wasn't sure it was everything, but we can talk about that. But you've seen it before, the one starting at the beginning when we first did the planting.
I don't know if we went quite all the way back to the
That-
beginning.
that's
I
what-
think we went,
That's
because
what
it's just the way the budgeting and the way all, like,
Right.
the city fronted all the money, it just wasn't that accurate in the way, like, the first year, the way we did it.
Right. I remember
Because at that time, nobody made it known, like, you didn't know you were gonna do this project, right?
Right.
So,
Which project?
but what we're doing right now, the mapping and
Oh,
all
right.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like that thing, hindsight's 2020, wish we had done this, track that, but,
Right.
you know.
Well, but yet the money that was donated for the commemorative tree went to plantings.
Oh, yeah.
So-
I think the first year was replacing dead or empty ones in Rehoboth Avenue median.
Right, I
Right.
think so, yeah.
So whatever year this started in 2016,
Oh,
17.
no,
No, I mean,
actually, the commemorative
Going
tree.
back, yeah, going back to
19.
the minutes, we talked about
Yeah.
the program
Yeah,
in
actually, the-
April, May of 18.
Oh, okay.
The
So-
tree downstairs was unveiled in the fall of 19.
Okay. All right.
And so I guess donations started coming in then, and I'm guessing that because of that, the first plantings were probably in 20, right, Liz?
No, because I think we just did the trees in the median. I think we just did them, and I think the city just paid
Planned it.
for them and just kind of made it like our splash out for, hey, commemorative, even though maybe that's not exactly where say we collected 10,000, we paid 20 to do
Right.
that or whatever
Okay, well,
it
still,
was.
so it underwrote them, though. The commemorative tree program contributed to
And
those.
here you're going back a few years. I'm not sure I'm being accurate with this, quite honestly.
I
Yeah.
don't think we're looking for accuracy here. So
Especially at the beginning, because I know the city
Correct.
did do some to start the program.
I just want to create, when people donate money, as a sense of connection, so if they know. Okay. So I have these questions, and then
But
the
we
next
have all the
one.
rest. I mean, we know the Rehoboth Avenue ones, we may not have those, but we have everything was done since then for the commemorative tree, I think.
Correct.
I think we already
So
have that.
I will get that together, and if I can have Lynn's contact information after the
can get that
meeting,
for you,
I can
yeah.
speak to her. So I will pull all this together before our next meeting. I have already contacted Max saying we're almost ready to go, but I rather and then I need names of all the donors. Do I get that downstairs off the plaque?
There, I can give you a spreadsheet.
Okay, if you can get that, because I
yeah.
rather have Max, when he starts to chart this map, the commemorative tree map, that he has all the information, so he knows how to lay out the page. As I indicated before, we're gonna use the parking meter map as a guide, because that has the quadrants on it, and then you'll hover over it and you see a commemorative tree, and then on the right or left side will just be the names and the years
Right,
of the
okay.
people that gave.
And is there room, has he done any kind of layout yet, or have you done? any-
No, I know he's very busy, but it takes a while for me to get in touch with him.
Right, okay, yeah. no, that's
So,
fine. Because part of the reason I asked that is, I think there's over 45 donors at this point.
Oh,
and-
wow.
And growing. So is there, are the names going to pop up if you hover over them, or is there a list on the side? And if there's a list, is there room for it to, double?
yeah, I'm sure that there'll be a list just to the side. I would not identify a name to a specific tree. I would just do it on
Right,
a
no,
yearly
exactly. Yeah,
basis,
okay,
right?
fine, yeah.
And then we'll just keep the list going alpha order, and if we have that, and we can do it by year, that these people gave in 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, and just keep it that way if that's possible, because that way they can identify to the year that the tree was planted, because it's going to be on the plaque.
Right, although typically, I mean, it is true in almost every instance, the contributions in one year result in plantings the following year. That's just a budget issue. So.
So then that's up for discussion. That's a good
So I don't
point.
know if we want to use the years they donated, or whether we just want to have a list of names.
Let's just have a list of names, and then,
It wouldn't be alpha if you're going to add to it every.
correct.
Yeah.
I would well, I would still, because if the list gets to like 250 people, let's say in several years, I would still have it alpha order.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay.
With
all
the
right.
year that they gave, or do it by the year of the donation and have start in 2018, 19. So then people can see how this program has expanded over the years.
Yeah.
And people may give more than once.
Correct.
And they
That they
already
see
have.
that they made a donation in 18, they see their name, and again in 2022 that they gave a name. their name again.
Well, in fact, that's a good point, because I know there are some donors that have already
Right.
done more than one. So how, would you just have a name and then like, say, 2018, comma, 2020?
No, I
Or
would,
would you
I
have the
would do
name
it, I
twice?
would do, like 2018 and everybody that donated
Okay, I
in
see.
2018, then 2019, et cetera.
Okay.
And then you would just continue to scroll downwards, because in 5 years,
19 was the first.
19 or 19, and in 5 years, I mean, there could be 400 names on this list. And then
Just write that
we can figure it out. What we can do is maybe, so people don't constantly scroll to the bottom, we can put like 2019 to 2021 in a folder, or hide it so they can click on it and see the
I
donors.
mean, as it gets,
As
those
it gets
years
bigger.
go-
Because
go
people want to
past,
see
yeah.
the most recent, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm just thinking, when I had a call with Max, I have the design in my mind, so when we mark the tree with a little tree, you hover, you see the quadrants on it, and you will see the type of the tree, the name of it, and that it's a commemorative tree and the location. And then that's the map. And then on the right side of the map, there'll just be a column of names of the people that gave in what year by year. And then and then when they're on the physical site, we can put the quadrants also on the tree plaque, because I have the exact ones. And so if anybody wants to know where we're exactly location, I can tell them. And just on the name, so you'll have the name of the tree, the year it was planted or close to it, the quadrants, and the common name and the Latin name, and the fact that it's a commemorative tree.
So all right.
I would say commemorative tree on the top of tree,
So this is the plaque.
the plaque, commemorative tree, and then the common name, and then the Latin name. And we can give the quadrants of the tree so they can match it up to the map if they want, if they're on their website, or we can leave that off.
Barcode, or would it be?
I wouldn't do a QR code on these.
Okay,
I think
fine,
it's going to
okay.
get a little bit too much with the telephone. I mean, I do have the quadrants. We can list the quadrants, because that's a real connection, that somebody took the time out to look for the quadrants. But again, we can cross that bridge when we get to it, because we still have some. This would be the last step of how we want the commemorative tree plaque
So
to
you
go.
would do the.
I would do the map
map,
first.
online map first.
I'm really confused. What commemorative tree plaque? What are we talking about?
The little plaques,
Little plaques.
Talking about.
on every commemorative tree,
on-
we wanted to label it and say commemorative tree.
Me. I thought we were talking about the plaques that for the tree walk.
Well, we
The whole
haven't got
point of doing the
That's a
ID
different one.
plaque.
That's a different one. So do we ID the trees? That was my.
I'm not supportive of putting plaque. We got away from that
Yeah, that's
for
what
a
we
reason.
I just talked about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
oh, yeah. No, we got away from identifying specific donors. This is
Okay.
just to
I thought you were
identify.
talking about the map on that point.
Um,
Okay.
No, we're talking
Okay.
Is it-
to identify, like, for example, just fall backing on the 2 linden trees that are planted next to the visitor center. If I'm a donor, I would like to know that those are the 2 trees that I help donate
I'm not,
money.
that's not how we really envision the
Yeah, but
program.
not to be, even though I realize Liza's saying that a donor might think that. They wouldn't be identified with any specific donor. They would just be identified around town as commemorative trees in the program, so that people could see what was planted as a result of the program, not identifying with any person. Why is that a problem?
It's not a problem. I don't particularly, I don't think it helps with anything. You're doing the online map. We do our certain letter or whatever that gets sent out to the donor. We have the whole sculpture
Right.
downstairs that identifies them. The more things we have out in the field, because these are going to have to, with the young trees, we can't attach them with the spring. So now
Oh.
we're talking plaque mounting in the ground.
Oh.
And we get right back to that, part of what we were trying to avoid to begin with, in
Yeah.
my mind.
I
Number
can
one,
see
the
that-
maintenance.
I can see that point.
Number two, they'll be very easy to steal, unfortunately. Yeah, and not to say that they will be stolen, but,
So you can't do the spring because of the fact that there's 2 inch
It's
or
only
3
f-
inch?
It's only for mature trees that
Right,
you do
right,
the
that makes
springs
sense.
on. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe like any tree that's not growing quickly. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
young trees, immature trees. I mean, the nail itself or screw. I don't know if it's nail or screw. Probably nail is going to be 1.5 to 2 inches long
Right.
to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that
So-
makes sense.
Yeah, but it won't work. That particular method of attachment won't work for young, faster growing trees.
Is there any way, and I'm just throwing it out there, again, this doesn't have to be resolved today, that someplace downstairs next to that, the beautiful sculpture plaque that commemorates all the donors, that on one side, we have a map of the city, and we just put like a little Velcro tree saying these are the trees and the tree type? Or no, or that's too much, or that's overkill?
Well,
Okay, if that's
part-
overkill, that's
So
fine.
Part of the problem when we had the ID trees, besides the actual maintenance of the plaques themselves, was also people getting attached to that specific tree.
Right.
And
Yeah,
if
well, we want to get away from that by not including any names, but
if people go and they see that this tree that they have attached to whoever they donated it for, let's say grandmother, has a brown leaf on it. I mean, we've had people ask if they could prune the trees because they didn't like the shape of them. People will get attached to them the more you label them, in my opinion, and understandably so. I think.
well, actually, I think the biggest argument is the one about the young trees.
Yes.
Yeah, and
I
the
didn't
fact that
realize
we can't attach it, so it'd have to go on the ground, and that does present issues if it's on the
Well,
ground.
could you just maybe add to the sculpture downstairs a QR code, just something that you can scan that takes you to the map that you've developed? possible?
That's an alternative.
That's
yeah.
an idea. I think that's a great idea. Or on the map online, at least indicate the year the tree was planted. So if they gave in
that part's
2018.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. I think that's
Yeah.
fine.
The way you have the online map with the years,
Right.
donations by years, and you're gonna have, well, when you click on, going back to the online map, when you click on the tree icon, it's
Mhm.
gonna come up with the common name, the Latin name, and the
And the
quadrant.
quadrants. And the year it was
And the
planted.
year it was planted,
Mhm.
okay.
Are the donors gonna, how on the tree we have downstairs, how they're the different color for the different donation level, are they gonna be separated on the map as well?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
no,
I think we
because-
should just do it, I think we should just do it all the same.
Because remember, in the lower contribution levels don't really cover the cost of trees, so
Mm-hmm.
even the higher contribution levels don't cover
I
the cost.
mean,
So it takes multiple donations to plant one
Right.
tree.
I just
Yeah.
think in this case that everybody understands that they gave X amount, whatever they could, and a tree is planted and they're part of that tree.
Right.
You know.
Well, and part of the reason we did the donor levels downstairs too is because it adds to the beauty of the
Oh,
the piece of
absolutely.
art.
Right, yeah,
Absolutely.
So
right,
instead of one color leaf, we have
Right.
these three.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, people want gold leaves, but I just think the map, let's just make it fair. I mean, not fair, but let's just make it
Simple.
easy, simple. Exactly. So, all right. So just to reiterate, I will contact Lynn to have the pictures taken of the actual tree. I will get a list from Liz or Commissioner Gay on what year that tree was planted. I will get a list of donors, approximately 45 names by year, and then we're good to go. And then as soon as I get that, I'll start working with Max on the tree map itself, which should not be difficult because he already has the parking meter map, so we're going to use that as a base.
Okay. Do you think it's possible that at the next meeting there'd be a mock-up?
I hope
then?
so. I
And
will
you can
email
show it
him after
electronically?
today, yes, and I can
Okay.
show it, or I can have him, depending on his schedule,
That'd be
have
great.
him come and walk us through it and
That would
make
be
sure that we can test it and make sure that there's no more changes, and then we can go live with it. Let me
Okay.
contact him, and I'll CC both Commissioner Gay and Liz on it.
Okay,
so-
yeah, that would.
And carve
be
out a
great.
time. Usually, when I've had a couple of conversations with him, it takes about a week or two to get online with him.
Okay. But you've been able to do the communication with him online and not have to be here in person?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah, and,
So-
you know, this also may be an opportunity to get some publicity for the program. I would hope that Lynn might do a press release about the map, the online, you know,
And it's-
availability of the map and all
Yeah,
that.
and it's perfect because, July 4th is around the corner, so we'll really, a lot of
Right.
people will be in town and hopefully they'll start looking at the site,
Right.
What do you think about the idea of putting a QR code on the plaque downstairs?
I
pull
think
up
that's
the
a good
map?
idea. Oh, I
Yes.
think that's a
I
great
think
idea.
that's a good
Yeah, I
idea,
think that's a
too.
great idea. Yeah,
To look and see where and how we would do it.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, would it just go on like a poster or a plaque or?
We have to look at
We have to, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's, from what I understand, it's not difficult to put those QR codes on something, a poster or something. But,
Nice if it would be something that was permanently attached to the wall.
Yes.
Right,
I-
yeah,
no,
yeah.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Right, no,
Right.
something that looks,
A
it's
pla- a
just,
plaque
right.
looking.
Yes.
Right.
So
yes.
maybe a wood plaque that matches the
Something.
tree.
Yes.
Mhm.
We'll
Right.
have to look into that, but I think, you're right, it has to look good.
Yeah, right.
Not a
Yeah.
sticky.
And
Yeah.
plus,
Yeah.
it would
Not a
have to be, it
post-it.
would
Yeah.
have to have either a name or an explanation,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
scan this code to see where the trees have been planted or something like that.
Yeah.
I can check that out.
Okay, yeah.
I can check that out, see if we can find a wood person to do a.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great, yeah. Okay,
What kind of wood we used for that?
I do.
You do have it somewhere?
I have it,
Okay.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
got it.
I don't
That's why
remember.
I'll,
Maybe cherry? I don't know.
I thought it was, yeah.
I think it, yeah,
I think
it
it's
was.
cherry.
I know, I have something that'll tell us.
Okay.
So
I mean, I don't know.
will- Yeah, I'll take that
I
on.
would assume it would be different looking, but
Okay, so then, the tree tour, which is different from the commemorative tree map. These things get confused.
correct. Let me,
so-
hold on, let me say, I looked up the tag and band company and they're $10 a sign.
Oh, that's good.
You have to buy the either the stake or the spring separately, but they're like,
That's fine.
10 cents.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
and then
yeah.
they'll have a design fee, probably somewhere around $50, but it looks like that would be pretty reasonable. And I was hoping it'd be around 15, so.
Great, yeah. So these are the ones for the walking tour.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's happening with that?
All right, so the walking tour, the descriptions are all done. So my next suggestion is that they should be professionally edited to ensure consistency, proper grammar, et cetera, et cetera. I have a friend, and if it's not, she was editor for Richmond Times-Dispatch, and she just semi-retired, and she freelances as an editor. She is currently writing a book on a woman in Virginia, so she's very well regarded in the state as a writer. I can reach out to her, or if the city has somebody else, or if somebody else has, I'm open to it, but I think that's the next step, is to make sure that the descriptions are consistent. They're correct, because we have stared at it for so long. For me, it's a lot of information that has to be pared down,
So do
make
we-
it
do we need to-
user-friendly.
right, Yeah.
And so that would be the next step on that. The location of the trees, do we need the quadrants of those trees? But I don't think so. I think there's really no reason for me to go there and to see the quadrants of the 13 trees we identified.
Just gonna ask how many. There's 13?
There's 13. One
And
of
they're all
the,
in the park.
they're all in the park, literally not far than 20 yards apart. Now, when I read about the Bradford pear, I did not realize what a bad rap that poor
Oh, yes,
tree gets.
yes.
And it's such a beautiful tree, and I kept on reading and reading and reading. So one of those 13 trees, the baker's dozen, is the Bradford pear. Do we include it on the map?
Yeah.
I think, Liz
Okay.
thought we should
Yeah,
because it's an example of,
Yeah, we thought it would be a teachable moment.
Yeah, it is. And I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful tree, and it's
Invasive
too bad.
species.
Invasive species and smelly and everything.
States are banning them.
Yes,
Right, yeah.
so, okay, so or I can send it out to the group first and have them proof it, or we can just find an editor to do it. But that's the next step, because we really, the maps that I have seen that you've forwarded me links to are just so professionally done, like right outside the gate. So I don't want somebody to be emailing Commissioner Gay, did you realize there's a typo? You know, I don't want that to happen.
Again, I think we have to touch base with Lynn.
Okay.
I don't think it's city standard practice to hire editors for
Okay.
websites. I mean, I think the way to do it is to pass it around internally.
In fact, maybe what we ought to do is for the next meeting, have the draft as a support document, just so we can, you know.
I'm
look at
sorry,
it.
I was gonna bring it today and I just didn't have a printer down here, but I can
Well, no,
email it to, email it
because
to
then
you.
needs to be a support document for the
Perfect.
meeting.
And then
Yeah.
if we can go through that and then just take more. And then after that, Commissioner, we will decide what is on the plaque, what is on the QR code from there. Obviously, the QR code will include all that information, but what's going to be on the plaque? Just to give people that do not have phones and access to a QR code, so they have also some type of information, like a fun fact or something about the tree, that they're learning something just by reading the plaque.
So it would be more than just the name, the Latin name and whatever. It would be some information about the tree.
Correct. This would have a little bit more, so we have to agree as a group, just one or two sentences, because like, for example, I know for a fact, my mother would love to go over there with my dad. He's 97 and she's 86. They do not carry phones around. And they're not gonna shine over a QR code. Now, that generation, the next generation, it can change because, but we're not gonna go there. I think we have to make it accessible for everyone. If we're gonna make it accessible for everyone, are we required like to have a braille or something? Should we have the tree name just in braille so somebody that is visually impaired could read the braille? I mean, those are all questions if we're talking about accessibility.
Yeah.
Just the tree name, because I know braille is probably getting up there in cost.
Add on those type of tags.
Okay.
Reasonably.
Yeah.
Weren't we doing a printed map version of this too?
Yes, we are.
So do we really find it it's just not common to see like facts on these. I mean, they're this big, so it's not common to have like big sentences. Like sometimes you see them labeled with a number to correspond, like
That's true.
tree 1, and then it would correspond to tree 1 on the printed map.
So then my question is, who is going to be responsible to make sure that plastic case or something that holds these maps is full and complete all the time?
What plastic case? Are you
Well,
talking
where are
about
they
it
going to
being
get the
outs-
map?
You mean you'd have it
Yes.
sitting outside?
Oh, it's not sitting outside.
In the
You know,
pavilion?
You
In the
said
pavilion.
CCE has a box there.
They do, but it's behind
Oh,
lock
it's
and key.
behind lock and key.
Yeah, I mean, it's a display, box, so one of them could go there.
So,
Right by there.
but who is going to be responsible to make their daily rounds, because in the summertime, and then you have another question is, are people going to properly dispose of these maps, or when they're finished, just throw it on the ground? I mean, we're starting to, I'm
Sorry,
s-
I'm laughing, but you make a really valid point with that, unfortunately.
yeah.
because I mean, if I'm finding trash on my street on a daily basis now.
Really?
Hmm. So I want to make
I
it,
thought we talked about having one in the case.
right?
I think right there.
Right,
is
yeah,
good.
yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I
they
think,
can
I don't
just
think that's a
refer.
problem. I think CCE would do that, because I don't think that case is filled up, but it's a matter of where do you
And
get the.
maybe if we do print the maps, we just have them at City Hall or at the
The visitor center, right?
I don't
Yeah.
think we can have an outdoor
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think
Okay.
so either. Yeah.
right.
outside location.
Now, like I said, the chances of a 97 and an 86-year-old person going to the thing by themselves, if I would take them and say, look what we created, I will have a phone. So I doubt, you know what I'm saying? So, okay, I know I'm digging in the weeds, but I just want to make sure we do it right the first time and address all the issues.
I think most people will be happy seeing the botanical and the common name, honestly.
Right,
I think some people won't even use the QR code to learn more. Like myself, I might look and say, "Oh, I'm from Florida. I don't recognize that tree." And I look and it's a southern red oak. Well, that's a strange tree. You don't see that really
Right.
outside of this area. Oh, okay, I knew it was an oak. That's all I would do. And
Right.
maybe if I was really, I might Google what's a southern red oak and like, something like that. But I think that's sufficient.
And can we get the QR code on there? Because the descriptions are fun. I mean,
Yeah,
especially
I
when
th-
you
I
have
think
a fun fact,
That's the way to
you
go.
know, of
Yeah.
how it was used or,
Right, yeah.
where it got its name or the poor Bradford pear. I feel sorry for it already. I really do when I read every single
But that will
website
also
from
be on the
Yale to
print
Florida.
brochure?
Right. And we can put it on a print brochure too.
But an edited version or the entire description would go on the print brochure?
Oh. I think an edited version, because that would be a long brochure then,
Right, okay.
But again, we should edit it, what we have now should be edited down also, because each description is about that long, and that's, a 12 font,
Yeah.
it's long.
Along the 13.
Yes,
yeah.
we'll circulate it next meeting then.
I'm looking at their website. It looks like a lot of them will have like a QR code, and then in the center it'll be like the so-and-so college or whatever
Right.
it may be. And then they have both the names, and then some of them have like the family, some of them have native to, some of them have attractive ornamental tree or something like, let me see what else this one
Just a little
says.
fact.
A wetland tree, good for landscape, stuff like that. Like a 3-word
Right.
fact. So maybe if we want to go in that direction, that might be okay. To not have sentences, but like a key,
Snippet.
yeah,
like a-
beautiful spring bloomer or whatever. it
Something
may
like
be.
that, yeah, that,
Or
that's-
frogs love this tree or something.
that's all, you're talking about on the plaque itself?
Yeah, like I'm looking at one that was a Eastern Redbud, Cercis canadensis, attractive ornamental tree, and then it has University of Kentucky's like logo below it. And it fits on there fine.
So that's where we are.
How big are we talking now then?
I think these are like generally 3x5s is pretty standard. Somewhere
Can we
in that
go
size range.
to like a 4x6 or 5x7, or that's
Oh,
too
I
big?
think that's getting too
Too
big.
big.
And we're like,
Yeah, I think I'm with Liz. I
I
think,
think they're generally this size.
Size,
yeah,
okay.
I think less is more. I mean, I think it could look really cluttered once we
Yeah.
start. if
We want
start
them to,
putting
like,
everything- yeah,
fit
really
it-
focus
Right.
on it.
Right.
Fit in, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want somebody from 100 yards away to be like, what's that on that tree? And have to,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
but you want
Yeah.
people to be able to see them when they're near the tree. It looks like they're this website, I'm sure you can get them in colors. It looks like they're mainly black and white.
That's a good idea.
Yes, they do.
There's 13, including the Bradford pear, so that will be our baker's dozen.
What other, do you have in front of you what the other species are?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not bring that. There was several pines, several cherries,
There are a couple oaks,
couple of oaks. The crepe myrtle was one.
there's a river birch
Yeah, river birch.
planted for Arbor Day in 17.
No, the magnolias, I believe, were here at the Breakers Hotel. Getting to know my trees around this town.
Well, you got to clarify which magnolia.
You're right,
deciduous
there's,
or-
yeah,
Most
exactly.
Most people mean southern.
Right.
Right, yeah.
The best southern magnolia is, well, the two best. One is at the Anna Hazard House at that little park, and then the other one is at Lake Gerard by the little swing set.
Right.
They're like beautiful.
So that's all I have. I mean, and again, I think when I started this project in November, I didn't realize it was going to take so long, but it's,
Take longer than you
yes,
think.
and it's
So
just.
I've got the list.
Oh, you do? Thank
Yeah,
you very
so
much.
just a deodar cedar,
Hi, yep.
Japanese yew, wild cherry. I know there are a million cherries, but
I don't know where there's a wild.
cherry. So maybe we could use some help on what cherry.
Well, why I say wild cherry, but you might mean black. Does it have the Latin name next to it on your list?
Well,
or
I
no?
think this was us trying to identify it, so
Okay.
wild cherry prunus avium.
Yeah, that probably isn't right. I
Okay,
don't
I
think we
think we
have
need
any.
your
It might
help.
be, it probably is, let me see if it's
Yeah,
this
we
one.
need your help on that. Star magnolia, American holly, loblolly pine, a pin oak, crepe myrtle, red oak. And that was Jones in my list.
Yep,
And then
that's
the
matches.
river birch and the Bradford pear.
Mhm. I had it.
There is a linden over there too.
I don't think that made the list on, because we were trying to keep them clumped together. So when you, the linden,
Oh,
when
I
you're
thought it
walking,
was- Okay, I thought it was supposed to be a little bit more spread out in the park. But all the rest of the trees sound like they are there.
when we were walking towards the Turtle Bridge, we tried to keep the cluster right there next, right to the left of the path and then around the pavilion.
I think you guys probably mean the wild black cherry or a black cherry. You might want to write that down. It
Okay.
gets
Black cherry, okay, I could rewrite
yeah.
that one.
I bet they're kind of like a common tree you find growing in the woods.
So obviously,
big.
it's good that we're going to review this as a group to make sure that we ID'd the trees correctly.
I mean, there's a chance I'm wrong. Maybe there is.
No, no,
the other one in
literally,
there.
I think it's a good idea. We all take a look at it.
Right.
And I'm not pointing any fingers, because the same thing when on my commemorative tree quadrants, before we go live, just to make sure I got the right trees in the quadrants, a second set of eyes on all this, because I am not a tree expert. I'm learning as I go along, and I'm enjoying every minute of it, but it's a learning curve for me.
So the next step on this is to maybe just to get a draft form of the
All the
13
descriptions, correct.
And
You'll
we'll
have
have it.
everything. I will do my best to clean it up as much as possible so it looks good.
Yeah.
As a group, we decided to obviously have the reference where we got this information. We were going to the Arbor to the Arbor Foundation. The majority of the time, sometimes they didn't have all the trees listed. So we would reference a different site, whether it's University of Maryland, Missouri, Yale. So those sites are listed
Okay.
as a reference
Great.
point.
Well, we look forward to seeing the content, and then I guess laying it out and
And then deciding where should we cut back, if anything should be cut back, because it should be edited just to make sure that the descriptions are consistent and that the descriptions are somewhat the same length.
sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
welcome.
Appreciate all your work on both of those things. Those are two big, major projects that we've been talking about for some months, so it's good to see the progress. I added to the, anything else on the map, Rena? Good job. Yeah.
Thank you.
I added to the agenda an update on the plantings, including Delaware Avenue, because I was reminded recently that the Delaware Avenue restrooms opened, and part of our plantings for this year were going to be trees along Delaware Avenue. But given the time of year, I assume they're not gone in yet. So,
Yeah, it was everything
right.
was too delayed with that. So it's still on the docket for the fall, but it would have been too convoluted to do it in the
Oh, yeah,
midst of all the
right.
construction, which I knew because of the setbacks from that project, I knew that was a potential, and that's
Right.
okay because I didn't have anything big. We don't have anything big planned for the fall anyways, so
okay.
works out fine.
Yeah, I think there was some question about the availability of the trees at the time.
The availability is not good, yes.
So, so when do you have to order the ones for the fall?
Oh, they already have.
al-
I mean, they're already
Are they already
like
on order?
Yeah. Like we've already signed the agreement and all that. So
So what are they and how many? Just remind
it
me.
was 30, 38, I believe, 19 on each block.
Okay. And they're different types, right?
2 different kinds, 1 per block. I can't remember which kinds off the top of my head, but I only sent them. And that's part of the thing is small street tree coastal exposure limits our list to like 4 trees. So, and they're not common trees. I mean, I skipped like a crepe myrtle and stuff that we're overstocked on.
Right, that's good.
Yeah, so that's part of it. We already have a lot of crepe myrtles planted. They do great. We'll do something else. Maybe I think one of them was a Japanese lilac, which we have a few on Rehoboth Avenue, and I think the trees that have grown best in the median. They're the only
Really?
ones that are still original, honestly.
Oh, huh.
And they're the closest to in the median of Rehoboth Avenue because those are really bad growing conditions, and they're the closest to the ocean too. Yeah, it's them and the golden rain trees are kind of, I think it's like the Japanese lilacs, and it goes golden rain.
Well, I was just going to say that's another opportunity to publicize the program is when those go in. And I think we just have to, I mean, it could even be a photo, well, we did that last year with the plantings at, in the Lake Avenue. Yeah, we took a picture. So
Oh.
I think we should do that again.
It's actually the golden rain tree was the other one. So I might change those between now and then, but that's what we have on order. Yeah. The Japanese lilac, the ivory silk. There's a couple different kinds. This one's ivory silk.
Does the Japanese lilac, does it give off the flower as the regular
Well,
lilac?
it doesn't look like that, but it does flower. It's white.
Okay.
It's pretty.
The-
Both of them are pretty.
The giant lilac that is in Lake Gerard in the park that's next, I love that. Is there, because I walk by it every day,
Yeah.
does it have to be pruned or fed or anything?
No, it's always just been like that
That-
forever.
Or cleaned? Because it looks like there's a lot of like dead branches inside, and I don't know if that harms the tree or whatever, because it's such a prized lilac. I mean,
No, only if you get big canes dying back, you can do like restoration prunes on them. But it's so healthy, you hate to mess with things that are doing well.
okay.
You know, you touch it, and then all of a
Right,
sudden it doesn't
right.
look as good anymore.
It just didn't bloom as heavily this year as it has in the past, that's all.
Yeah, and I mean they have a lot. Lilacs have a lot of problems. That
Mhm.
one seems to be pretty.
Yeah, it
Well,
must
I
be
mean,
at least,
They get a lilac borer. They get powdery mildew. They have a whole plethora of things that could go wrong. So I'm hesitant to touch it and then have those
Right.
things go wrong.
Right.
But I mean, if it started fading, we'd probably do a soil test to see what was going on, because there's probably not too many nutrients in the soil because it's so sandy.
oh,
but-
it's just beautiful.
But fertilizing it
Yeah.
wouldn't really do anything either.
Okay.
Probably increase the powdery mildew.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've always liked that one too. I know exactly what there used to be a giant weeping willow in
Right.
that section too when I was a kid that was like 100 feet wide and touched the ground.
Yeah, that lilac, I'm sure it's probably at least 50 or 60 years old.
No,
You don't, I think
I have
so.
no clue. I mean, I have no clue. I
I
can't
remember it as a kid, and I don't want to tell my age, but I'm around there.
How big are the ones that you're, on Delaware Avenue, how do you think they'll get? I mean, they're,
Oh, the mature size?
yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, they're both considered small trees. It's just hard to say because they're considered, it might say 20 feet tall, but
That's
that's
what I
like
was
in a
wondering.
yard
Yeah, right.
circumstance. That's like perfectly happy doing well. It's like a red bud. I saw a red bud once that was like 25 inches diameter and like 35 feet tall. It's
Wow.
not going to grow like that planted on the street
Right.
ever.
Right.
I mean, to the point where I actually had to look really closely at the tree because I wasn't sure if it was a red bud or not because I'd never seen it that size. But most of those, given street tree life and circumstances, probably 15, 20 feet, maybe.
And fairly close to the ocean, too, these two. Well, I
Yeah,
think
they
it's
get
gonna-
they get stunted
Right, I'm
close
sure.
to the ocean.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I think it's going to look great to have 38. That'll be something to highlight, definitely. And I didn't think of this till just now, but I guess I should ask, when is the appropriate time for us to look ahead to commemorative tree plantings for next year? Whether they were spring or fall next year, but, I mean, we obviously don't need to do it today, because for one thing, it's not on the agenda. But when is the appropriate time to do that?
Anytime.
I mean,
It
how
do-
far ahead do you plan? Are you already
Month.
planning 2023 yet?
Next spring? No.
You're not, okay.
No. Try to get
But you
done
do
what I-
plan before budget season, even though you don't have the budget for it yet, right? You do plan ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we always have a list of projects on the back burner that you'd like to see tackled, so to speak. But that's always dependent on funding and scope and
Yeah,
all
it was,
that.
one of the things we've been trying to do is tie in the commemorative tree plantings to city projects. That was kind of the whole idea of the green infrastructure, is to tie in. And right off the top of my head, I can't think of a project that's on the drawing board for next year that we could tie into, unless it's the,
The only things I can really think of are the lifeguard station and then the big streetscapes. And I don't think either of those are going to be done
Right.
in a year.
right, right,
They're both still in like planning exploratory stages.
exactly. Yeah, and even for the lifeguard station, is that going to be too close to the ocean to?
I don't know. There may be no green space. I don't know anything about it. I just know
Right.
that it's been brought up
Right,
multiple
yeah,
times.
no,
in the
yeah,
last-
I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen next year.
Hmm.
So we'll have to see.
Just thinking ahead, how about Arbor Day? Have we got myself, are we covered for an Arbor Day tree?
Well, we
By
can
the
talk,
city.
we can talk about that. We can talk about tying it into Arbor Day next year. Yeah, okay, do that. Okay, well, then I think we're up to date on our plantings for this year. And as I said, I'm also gonna update the list of donations. Don't have any new business this time. And I do have a couple things to suggest for future agendas. But before that, does anybody else have any sort of general comments?
I have something if you guys don't.
Absolutely.
I got invited to go to the Environment Committee meeting yesterday. And I was hoping Joan was going to be here, but they have been talking about about native plants, pollinators, and I kind of brought up how we try to look at it at the city holistically. So it's not a pollinator garden. It's not just a rain garden or an infiltrate. It's all
Great.
of
Yep,
these
just-
things. We have our white oak that has 600 species of Lepidoptera that'll get on it. We have some of our perennials. We have some sort of stormwater component, native plantings, and the city does, I'd say like 90% native when we're not talking about street trees. They're a different beast unto themselves. So they brought it up because of pollinator gardens, and then I think the commissioner brought up, or somebody brought up when Doug Talamay came.
No,
And
that was
so
a great day.
yeah, so I said, well, the Tree and Green Infrastructure Committee we've spoken about educational things recently. if not
That's
the
what I
last-
was gonna talk about, actually, next, yeah. Yeah.
So I suggested that maybe you guys somehow get in contact, and they laughed because of Charlie and Joan. And he was like, well, I may know somebody on the committee. And I said, well, we'll let you guys fight it out then. But maybe there'd be an opportunity to do some sort of joint educational seminar session. Somebody knows somebody, just like how it worked with Doug Talamay.
Right,
And then you kind of had the backing and the manpower of two committees, and it's
Right.
nice to see that overlap. So
just for like a workshop?
yeah,
thing?
like
Okay.
a speaker, a workshop, something like that. I mean, I'm thinking they're kind of all along the lines, we haven't really talked about it here, but pesticides is one thing, native versus invasive plants, pollinator gardens. So I think something around the native plants, plant
Right.
gardening for wildlife, that type of stuff might be good.
Yep.
And I mentioned ivy too, how Andrea brought up the ivy. Look, I gotcha.
Thank you.
Well, because it's on, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up, but the state banned nurseries, and they have a pretty comprehensive list. So that doesn't take effect until sometime in July, maybe the 1st, I don't know. But I'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because you can still go right to Home Depot and Lowe's and buy English ivy. And Creeping Jenny is on the list, and that's a pretty popular,
So Home Depot
planter
can sell
basket.
it even in Delaware?
I don't know, because it's not July yet.
Right, okay.
So who's going to enforce it? I mean, how's it
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
enforced? Probably complaint driven. I don't know.
I had a while back, we talked about having workshops on like how to prune hydrangeas and everything. Did that ever get any traction? No, I mean, I'm just would like, because I'm still interested.
Love to bring it up again. Can we go put that?
Do we
down
have-
for
Well, that's what I was gonna
Joan?
say. What I wanted to do, there were two things I wanted to look at doing on the next meeting, and that's going back to education in two
Mhm.
respects. One, the workshops, because I can't remember where we left off
Well,
with,
Yeah, put that back on the agenda.
okay, all right.
Put that back on the agenda. I also have a couple of names. I've had trouble getting in touch with them, but Tom Evans gave me some other names from the University of Delaware.
Okay,
I've made calls. They haven't been returned, and I just let it go.
right.
But I can get back on it.
Okay,
and-
what
and
were
I
the
may need-
topics? Do you-
Gosh, I don't even remember, I don't have mine.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
No, we can
Next
get into all
time,
that
I
next
will have
time,
that
yeah.
next time,
Okay.
okay? But I
So these
I
are-
do have two names from him.
And then I guess the other education topic was, what information, Joan had actually sent me some really interesting articles recently, and Lisa sent me some interesting articles, and I really want to sort of collect those and make them available on the website, and and yet, we haven't really talked about it recently, plus I feel like that's going to grow over time. Maybe that's okay to have lots of different articles, or maybe we can switch them out, or I don't know, but it just seems like it'd be nice to have a place to keep some really, if they're educational for the
This
public.
would be for the website, this would be for our web.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You can keep them up for a year and then take them down and just alert, like the following articles would be taken down at the end of the month or something.
Okay, well, so my homework will be to get all those together and send them out to you all ahead of time, and maybe even post them on the agenda, and then we'll talk about
Yep.
how to make that information. 'Cause
Joan
there's
and
already
Elise are
some-
excellent at finding these articles.
Yeah,
They're
there's-
really
there's some
good.
great
There
ones.
is a,
There's some-
absolutely.
Great. In fact, somebody sent me recently the one from Doug Talamay, and it might have been on pollinators. Joan might have sent this, and it was very well done. But he's very clever, and it was excellent. So
What about somebody from the Delaware Botanical Garden? That might be
do
worthwhile
they do
pursuing.
speaking? Do they do workshops?
I don't know. Just something to add to Andrea's list.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they have a really
They have-
interesting horticulturist there.
How about
Yeah.
anybody
Who
from
came from the
Longwood
Philadelphia
Gardens?
Zoo.
Oh, really? Oh.
And,
Possibly.
Longwood or Winterthur, Longwood Gardens?
I
Or-
just, the reason I said Delaware is because they're
Yeah, yeah.
So closer, or is there, because the editor I was talking to you about, she's an old friend, her name is Pam, and she just finished a master garden class done by the Richmond Museum. So she's getting more and more into botany and gardens and everything. So if there is a master class, maybe a graduate from a master class series.
we can talk offline.
Yes.
on
Yeah.
that.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so anyway, all that will be
Well, and I
subjects
did want to
for,
remind you, Susan, that we've had some conversations within the Rehoboth Beach homeowners
yeah.
group
Oh, that's right.
about alternatives to lawns.
Okay,
And,
okay.
them wanting to partner with us, right?
Okay.
Just make sure, to get an audience. I mean, we have,
Right.
that group is growing
Yep.
leaps and bounds.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
A lot of
That
new
would be a great-
homeowners,
that would be a
they're,
great one
they're
to
planting landscapes.
coordinate with.
Lots of them are planting
Absolutely.
lawns,
Yeah, 'cause they don't
Love
have-
that issue.
unfortunately. So,
There is, I am going way off subject. I don't think that people realize, like, the house next door to mine on Henlopen is a full-time rental. And so the owners erected a plastic fence, one that does not have any type of ventilation. And those fences block your air. When I went into their backyard, it's like sitting in an oven because you get no airflow. I think that should be, if you're gonna put a plastic fence, it has to have one with like slats or something to let air pass through. They also nailed it into a pine tree that belongs to them, and it's squeaking. So I don't think, every time I sit on my deck, I hear this like because the plastic bolt is moving within the tree. I think those are all issues, and I know we have an architectural committee, and the plastic fences will, from what I hear, have a shelf life about 5 to 10 years before they start to warp and run down. A good wooden fence will last you, that's what I'm just repeating some, but I just think it's a consideration to have in the homeowners association, because I sit up higher, but if I was surrounded by those plastic fences, it would block my air, and I would wonder if I have a legal right to my enjoyment, and it's blocking my airflow.
I think we're getting really off topic.
I know, that's what I said.
Really off
I know,
topic.
way off topic, but
Yeah.
it's another thing for homeowners association.
All right, well, we've got a lot to do at the next meeting with the workshops, the articles, and
Yes.
partnering with RBHA. Okay. Okay, and so the date, then, if we go back to our regular meeting time, it would be, hold on, would be July 8th. Does that work for everybody? Yes. Okay. Okay, well, that looks like when it would be, and hopefully we'll have full contingent of people here today. So if there's nothing else, I'll adjourn the meeting at 11:05. Thanks.